welcome back to the Unstoppable Introvert Project. I'm your host, Dr. David Hooper, and today is really, really, really special. I am thrilled to welcome my guest, Kai Westcott, and I am thrilled to welcome Kai because they are someone I've been excited to speak to for a few weeks now. And to actually get Kai here is so exciting. And Kai is a thought leader in mental health, ADHD, and introversion. Kai is the creator of The Vibe with Kai and a trailblazer for literally millions of people on their platform. And I am so excited to get into this conversation with Kai. Welcome to the show.
Thank you that was quite the introduction. I feel like I have so much to live up to right now. So much. But that was great. Wow. I got to meet this guy you were talking about in the intro. He sounds great. He sounds amazing.
Absolutely. No, it is genuinely my pleasure, Kai, and I am so excited to get into your journey and into your thoughts about all things really around, the mental health side, the introversion side, the kind of entrepreneurship side and social media. There's so many things to unpick. And for me personally, I really see you as, like I said in the introduction, a trailblazer for, my angle is definitely kind of the mental health and introversion side. And it's so exciting really to see an introvert doing the things that you're doing. And one of the things that I always ask my guests, one of the first things I always like to ask, relates to the title of the podcast, The Unstoppable Introvert. And what does being unstoppable look like to you or kind of mean to you?
I feel that introverts are the strongest people in the world. I feel like introverts are the smartest people. I think that introverts run the world. I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about introverts. Introverts are so incredibly strong. And when I think of the word unstoppable, I think of not just a physical uh, attribute, but like also a mental attribute as well. We as introverts are able to just process so much in our brains in a very unique way. And because of that, I feel as though we are often leagues ahead of people. And the only thing that can stop us is ourselves. you know and when I think of unstoppable, I think of all the potential that we have when we're able to just get down to it and just believe in who we are and what we stand for, and just be kind to ourselves and give ourselves some grace. That is unstoppable to me.
Wow, and that is such an incredibly strong answer. And I'm really excited to dig into how you've got to that point. But before I ask you that question, if some of the listeners haven't met you yet, if they've been living under a rock, how do you kind of introduce yourself to them in terms of who you are and what your mission is?
You mean I have to go? If I were to walk up to them and say something to them, I would not. I would just I would wave at a distance and walk away. No. If I had to introduce myself to people, I would just say, "Hey, I'm Kai. I'm just like you. I just put myself out there on the internet, so people can understand that they're not alone." And I like to highlight the everyday situations that we often find ourselves in, and I like to add a little humor to it, add a little levity, and help people understand that what you're going through, you're not alone. We're all going through something very similar, and that's what my content is about. So if I'm meeting you for the first time, hi, I'm Kai, and I'm just like you.
I love that. I love that. And it's so refreshing to hear you say that. And where does your journey really start then, Kai? You talk about all these different things, mental health, ADHD, introversion, amongst a lot of other stuff. Where does the story really start for you?
Well, my mom and my dad met, and then they fell in love. No, I'm kidding. That went too far back. Let's go back to. I think for me, I mean, everything that happened in my life from May 26, 1987, which is the day I was born, up until now, it made me who I am today. So I feel like my story has always been ongoing. But in regards to the realization of who I am, that was fairly recent, to be honest. I am a late bloomer when it comes to mental health. I grew up playing sports, and I grew up as a black man playing sports, and mental health was just not something that we talked about where I grew up. It wasn't something that was talked about in the, for the hip hop and R&B artists that I would listen to. It wasn't something that was talked about by athletes. It wasn't talked about in my family, my neighborhood. So whenever I thought mental health, and I'm not making a joke here, whenever I thought of mental health, I thought mental institution, like people like in straitjackets. Like that's what I thought. That was my ignorance. I had no idea. And it wasn't until I would say 2018 when I ruptured my Achilles and I was in the worst physical and mental shape of my life. And that's when it was a point that I didn't want to be here anymore. I didn't want to be on this planet anymore. I just felt like I was at such a low point. And it was at that point when I realized that no, something's going on up here in my brain. There's something that's prohibiting me from moving forward and to staying safe and to staying healthy. And that's when I started to embrace the mental health side. And with all that being said, I'm 36 now. I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD and generalized anxiety disorder, severe depression. I wasn't diagnosed with that until I was 34 years old. So this is all still very new to me. So it's funny. I feel like I've gone through like these eras in my life, and I feel like I'm in my mental health era now, and I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of it. I wouldn't change a thing in the past because it made me who I am today.
No, it sounds like you're really on a journey of self-discovery, and that's so amazing to hear. And as someone else who has suffered with lots of different mental health issues, we can definitely, get into that, I think, in a little bit and
Yeah.
really unpick, what
Hmm.
your thoughts are around that, and also
Hmm.
for those people who are listening who may be in those darker places, what they can do to get out of that. But if
Sure.
we stay with your story, Kai, what happened back in 2018 for you to get so badly injured?
Yeah, so I was playing basketball, and so whenever whenever I tell people I ruptured my Achilles playing basketball, I always tell people, I always ask them, I'm like, do you want the cool story or do you want what actually happened? The cool story is that it was the 5 seconds left on the clock. I was driving to the basket, and I went up for a dunk, and I slammed it, and I came down, and my foot was like, but I scored the basket, and the team won, and I was like, that's not what happened at all. But that's the cool version. What actually happened is the basketball. Somebody shot the basketball. It ricocheted off the rim. A foul was called. I simply went to go jog after the ball because it went up the court, and I pushed off my foot, complete
Mm,
rupture. It was a non-contact injury. Like I didn't even know what a ruptured Achilles was, and it was bad. The doctor was like, it would have been better if you broke your foot because it would
yeah.
heal faster. So it was at that point that not only did I rupture my Achilles at that point, but the relationship that I was in at the time
Mm,
ended. It was a long term relationship that I could have swore I was going to marry this girl,
yeah.
and it didn't work out, which was my fault. It was 100% my fault there. And then the third thing that happened was one of my closest friends, Ashton, passed away
Mm,
suddenly, and I had so many regrets about not reaching out to him,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
like it tore me apart. All of this stuff happened in a matter of 2 weeks.
Oh,
And so I'm sitting in my apartment. I lived on the third floor of this apartment building at the time, no elevator, third floor, couldn't walk, couldn't drive. And I'm sitting there in my apartment by myself, physically injured, mentally hurt, in the
mm,
darkest spot of my life.
yeah.
And I was devastated. I really did not want to be here. I'm like, this is as bad as it gets for me. I feel guilt. I am injured, and everything that's happening is my fault, and I suck.
Mm.
I suck. That's what I was saying to myself.
Yeah, the fact that 2 week period all
Oh
happened at the same
gosh.
time
Oof.
is absolutely horrendous. And
Yeah.
Would you say that was your rock bottom moment where it was a bit of a make or break moment?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think it gets any worse than sitting in your apartment or your house thinking that the world would be better off without you. That's a pretty low point, and I've hit that point a couple of times, but that was my first time really hitting that low. And so I always call that period of my life the best worst thing to happen to me,
Mm.
because I ended up blogging about my experience, my recovery from mental and physical health from that time period. And I named that blog Good Vibes with Kai. And that morphed into what it is today, which is the vibe with Kai. So without that injury, without all those things that happened back in 2018, you and I probably would not be having this conversation. The vibe with Kai would not exist at all.
That is so powerful, and I I love love's maybe the wrong word, but I love when someone is able to turn their trauma into something so positive
Yeah,
like you have. And
yeah.
I can see some real similarities, Kai, with your story and mine. And I'm
Hmm.
not going to make this about me, but just for your info. So a little bit of my story is that I was made redundant in 2017 from a job I really wanted, basically. And I got it, I did it for a little while, and then was made redundant. And because of I'd attached my purpose to that job, and when that purpose was taken away, suddenly I felt like I had no purpose, and
Hmm.
I got into this spiral of overeating and to kind of comfort myself. And I put on 70 to 80 pounds in about
Mm.
4 months, which is, quite a lot of
Yeah,
weight, which
yeah,
led me to being clinically diagnosed with depression and
yeah.
medicated. And to fast forward things, I read about some mindset tactics around reframing your challenges, basically, and
Yes.
looking at them instead of saying this is a terrible thing that's happened to me.
Hmm.
Instead, it's a really great opportunity for me to lose the weight and start the business and refine my purpose and
Hmm.
X, Y, and Z. So yeah, seeing this journey that I went on and seeing it in your story. And where did that change of mindset happen to you? Did you start to read about things, or did you just give yourself a little head wobble and think you need to fix this? Or what was
Yeah.
your recovery process like?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, first and foremost, thank you for sharing that story, because I think what if anybody can get anything out of hearing your story and my story, I think that there's people listening and watching this right now that are like, I have been through what he's gone through. I have been through what he's gone through. And hopefully people can understand that there are so many people that have gone through similar types of trauma, or just trauma in general. And like we all go through this, and it's really really hard
Mm.
to bring yourselves out, which leads me into the answer to your question. What brought me out, honestly, was my family, my friends, and my I felt this extra. You were talking about purpose before. I felt like I found a purpose.
Mm.
I knew how I felt, and as a natural empath, I was saying to myself, damn, I don't want anybody else to feel like this ever. And that's why I started blogging, because I'm like, maybe somebody will read this
Mm.
and
Yeah.
listen, or and read it or watch it and be like, oh, he goes through this too. I'll be okay. I see that he's okay. So a combination of those three things, like I'm very fortunate, because I know not every, I speak from a position of privilege here when I talk about my family. I have my mom, my dad, my sister, all of whom are incredibly supportive and loving. I thought about them. I thought about my friends that called me, checked up on me, drove me around when I couldn't drive, would bring me food, because at the time, like now, like after COVID, like working from home is like a no-brainer. This was 2018. This is before working from home was cool. So like, there wasn't really any like major delivery type of services like as prominently as they are today. It wasn't a thing. And so I have to thank them for bringing me out. They helped me realize that I can push forward. And then on top of all of that, therapy, being able to talk with a mental health professional helped a lot. And I speak from a position of privilege. Not everybody gets to go to therapy. No, not everybody can afford it. I could barely afford it. I could only go every once in a while because I couldn't afford it, because it was so expensive, but I knew I wanted to go. And so I went when I could, and like just talking with the mental health professional, man, it helped me view things from a different light, kind of like with you. I was able to reshape the way that I would think about things and reshape the way that I viewed things, and that helped a lot.
Definitely, that is again really really so open, Kai, and really I really appreciate it. And something that I find that's quite common with introverts, just to change gears a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
is that sometimes we use our introversion as an excuse almost to not put ourselves out there or
Mm-hmm.
put our hands up in the meeting or to apply for the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
What was the process you went through when you were thinking about that first blog? And
Yeah.
I know you're talking about the helping one person. That, like I said, that's part of my passion.
Yeah.
How did you move from that introvert who was maybe holding back to actually I can be an introvert and start to put myself out there?
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's a fantastic question because that leads into what I feel often is a misconception
Mm.
about introversion, right? So a lot of times people, and I can answer this like pretty fluently now, but back, if you were to ask me this question back then, I would have no idea. But only because I've studied it so much and I've embraced my introversion, I'm able to answer this now. My whole life, I never thought of myself as an introvert because I thought that introverts were shy. I thought that's what introversion meant. Introverts are shy. Not necessarily, right? I've learned over time that introversion is just how you recharge your battery. Whether you want to stay home and recharge your battery, or if you want to be around people, recharge your battery, whatever it may be. That's introversion and extroversion. So I always thought that I was an extrovert because I'm not shy. I actually enjoy talking to people. I really do. Like I love deep conversations.
Mm.
I love being able to make people laugh. I love being able to entertain and all of that. So writing the blog was pretty simple for me because it's something that I enjoyed doing. I grew up doing theater as well. So it's
Mm.
like I was used to putting myself out there. So it was fairly easy for me. But what I realized is that once the attention got there, I was like, that's when I realized that my battery started to drain. And I'm like, I am definitely an introvert because at the end of the day, when I need to recharge my battery in order to be the best version of me, I need to be alone. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to do anything. So to your point, we often do use it as a excuse and a reason for why we are the way we are, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? It's just making sure that we're able to be our best selves for ourselves, so we can be our best selves for other people.
What do you think is another misconception about introversion that you
Mhm.
see regularly?
There's so many. I feel like I can make like a whole series about introversion misconceptions because like obviously the biggest one is that introverts are shy. Can introverts be shy? Yes, of course, but so
Mm.
can extroverts, right? I think another misconception that people have about introversion is that we are like these hermits that
Mm.
just like stay in the house and we like will peek out the blinds and just like like weird noises like we're a hobbit or something like that. And that's not necessarily true. Like a lot of introverts, we like going outside. We just sometimes just don't want to be bothered with people. um I think another misconception is that people are unable to embrace silence. Introverts can embrace silence, right? Like I'm pretty sure, and I'll throw this your way, are you able to sit in your
Mm.
house all day without saying a word? Oh
Very
yeah,
easily. Yeah.
it's incredibly easy. Like there's days that you'll go by, you're like, wait, I didn't talk at all today, and you're like touching your voice. Can I still speak? You know, but it's easy for us. Even when we're with people, like you and I could be in the same room, and like I could be sitting at my desk, you could be sitting at the table or whatever, and we could just be in silence, doing our own thing,
Yeah.
not talking. Some people would feel uncomfortable with that,
Yeah.
right? Introverts like to be around people. It's just how we communicate, and what we do with our time and our energy. That's all it is.
How do you get to that point, Kai? How do you get to the magic question? How do
Yeah.
you get to be so accepting? Because I've had some conversations with people who are introverts, and they say, I'm worried other people think I'm boring and uninteresting, and that makes me hate myself for how I
Yeah.
am, and am I wrong? So how do you get to that point where you go, you know what, this is me and this is what I
Yeah.
need? Yeah, how do you get to that point?
There's a quote from the musical Hamilton that I live and breathe by. And I say this quote whenever I get a chance because it applies to as to the answer to this very question. In the song Wait For It that Aaron Burr sings, he says the line, I am the one thing in life I can control.
Hmm.
It's easy for me to accept who I am because I know that the only thing that I can control is myself. It doesn't matter what I do. I could be loud and boisterous. I can be quiet and sad looking. It doesn't matter. Like other people's perception of me is their problem, not mine. I can't control that because I don't know what they're thinking. And if I spend my energy trying to either control what they're thinking or make them think a certain thing, then I'm losing myself. So I'm thinking to me, I'm like, I am the one thing in life I can control. So I'm going to focus on the things that I can control, which is me and my actions and my behaviors. And when you shift that focus, it becomes a lot easier to be like, and I say this in the nicest ways. I don't care what you think, like not in a mean
Yeah.
way, but like it's just like if you're gonna give me a mean look, I could either sit here and say I can go run through all of the reasons why you're giving me that mean look. Most of them probably are wrong, and I'm making up in my head, or I can
Yeah.
just be like, well, whatever.
Yeah.
And the reason I can think like that is not only because I think I am the one thing in life I can control, but my therapist taught me this. I need to deal with the facts.
Mm.
And as a person that deals with anxiousness, what brings me back down to earth is the facts. So I can misinterpret any number of things. So can other people. So I have to deal with the facts. Yeah, that person gave a weird look, sure. Or maybe they're weird about me being quiet, but I don't know that. I'm just guessing. Is that in my head or is that what actually happened? You know?
I completely agree. I think
Mm-hmm.
that one of my own biggest learning moments was figuring out, once I focus on what I can control,
Mm-hmm.
it changed the game completely.
Absolutely.
Suddenly
Mm-hmm.
I was a lot more confident and,
Yes.
self-accepting, and mental health had improved, and all these, it was like a domino effect of just that
Yeah.
one, just changing that focus.
Mm-hmm.
And did you have to work to get to that point, or were you
Oh
always
God,
fairly
yeah.
confident? Yeah.
No, like I'm glad you asked that because I was gonna follow up with the fact that I am the way that I am right now
Mm.
because of the work that I've put into it, and I still have a long ways to go. It's hard. It's really hard. It wasn't ever just like a flick of a switch. I had to and still continue to do work. It is an ongoing process. I have my good days and I have my not so good days. I get messages from people all the time. Kai, you're always so happy. You're always so
Mm.
happy. And I'll be like, well, you see me online. You don't see me when the lights are down. And I come home from work and I hate myself,
Yeah.
So I have my good days and I have my bad days. Um, but I know that the work that I'm putting into it every single day, it helps me manage it. It helps me control it. And every day that I believe in myself, to believe that I can manage and control this, the easier it is for me as days go by.
what would you say to those people who are listening to this episode whose bad days are outweighing their good days at the moment? What would you say to those people?
First and foremost, I'm a big advocate for validating feelings, right? That's something that I've learned in the last year or two, right? Because that was something that I didn't realize that
Mm.
I I wasn't doing correctly, if at all, right? If they're listening right now and you're like, my bad days are outweighing my good days, first and foremost, I hear you. That you're allowed to feel that way. Who am I to say that you're not allowed to feel that way, right? Your feelings are valid, right? So now that we got past that part, the question is, what are you going to do about it?
Mm.
Right? You know that it's okay to feel this way. It's okay to feel upset, but what can you do about it? You have options. I'll always and forever suggest going to speak with a mental health professional. I know that it's hard to get help because of money and time and like I get it, but please try if you can. There are so many different options, especially now that so many things are online. You have so many different apps that are
Mm.
available now that have nothing to do with insurance, that are affordable. There are a lot. You can go to local community colleges that have psychology programs that help out. That help out people. There's so many different types of places that you can go. Also, just talking with people in general, talking with somebody that you trust, talking with your family, your friends, telling them how you genuinely feel. I feel sad today. Sometimes just saying it is the validation that you need. You can talk to somebody. You're not looking for advice. You're not looking for them to tell you what to do. You just want somebody to talk to most of the time. Talk at, and you want them to listen. So just talk, communicate your feelings, know that your feelings are valid, and if you can, go get help,
Yeah.
because these therapists, these professionals, they're able to provide this 30,000-foot view of your life, unbiased, that is tailored for you. There'll be options and treatments and you know programs, everything that are tailored specifically for you. And that I'll always push people towards speaking with a mental health professional.
Yeah, it's some really great advice, and I think if I was to put all of what you said into kind of one bubble, it would be to take some action. And I
Yes.
think that those suffering from mental health challenges sometimes find themselves almost paralyzed in a way where
Oh yeah.
they, and I did this, I'm speaking from experience in that I almost held myself in my depression, and it took a lot for me to realize actually I need to take some sort of action to get myself
Hmm.
out of it, as
Yeah.
difficult as that might be. Did you find something similar, or what was
Oh
your
yeah.
your situation?
Absolutely. I definitely don't want anybody listening to take this as a like Kai's making it sound easy. It's not. It is not easy, especially like for like with my ADHD. I mean, my executive dysfunction, that's happening in my life. Sometimes you are just paralyzed. You want to take action, but you can't. Your brain is just not allowing you to, and that's so hard. It's really really difficult sometimes, but you fight through it. You fight because it's so worth it. Um, you got to believe in yourself, and you got to believe that the actions that you take are not only going to help you, but help the people around you, help your job, help your friends, your family. Like there's so many benefits, and you'll be able to help other people with this, including helping yourself. So if you want to live a happy life, you have to take action sometimes, and it's easier said than done. But man, it is so worth it once you get the ball rolling. It is so worth it. And one last thing in this regard, you were talking about how about the feeling paralyzed. The other side of it is that sometimes we don't take action because we feel oddly comfortable with the chaos, right? We feel like I'll give you this situation. Have you ever been going through a day and like nothing has gone wrong that day, right? Like everything's going according to plan, like nothing came out of the blue, and you're like, that's weird. What's happening? And then you think, maybe this is setting me up for failure. Maybe
Mm.
this is the calm before the storm. Like you think of all of these things, it keeps you at this level of anxiousness when really no, you just had a good day. And you're suspicious of that, right? So like that's normal. That is a thing that happens. But you got to bring yourself out of it. No, nobody can pull you towards
Mm.
healthy energy and positive mental health behavior. You have to bring yourself to it.
I heard a quote that kind of fits that. That was, I'll probably butcher it, but it was something like hard things, easy life, easy things, hard life. So if you're willing to do the hard things, it leads to this easy life where
Mm-hmm.
you're thriving.
Yeah.
Or if you take the easy options all the time, you're actually going to end up with a hard life. It's lots of challenges. So yeah, I think that's some really really wise words,
Mm-hmm.
and that leads us quite nicely into the next thing I wanted to ask you about, and that was your ADHD diagnosis. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm really interested in that. And hopefully, I've got this right. Were you misdiagnosed?
I wasn't misdiagnosed. I didn't even know what it was. I
Right.
had no idea. Like I when it, I was in 2022, 2022, 2022. Oh gosh, my years are getting mixed up. But anyway, so I think it was 2022. So I was first diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, severe depression. Those were the first things that I was diagnosed with. And so I started getting treated for that. And I went about 6 months and something still felt off.
Mm.
Something still didn't feel right. I felt like there was something just not, I don't know, something still wasn't sitting right. And so as I'm one of those people, when I started taking my meds and, really going towards this healthy mental health kind of life, I was writing down how I felt every day. And I was writing down the things that I was feeling. And I would read these things off to my therapist, and my therapist was like, "Well, why don't I think some of these things might align with ADHD?" And I'm like, no, because I'm thinking ADHD is like I can't sit still, or hey, look, squirrel. Like I that's what I'm thinking ADHD is, which is what most people think.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I mean, I'll go get tested, I guess, but I don't think I have ADHD. I'm fine. And then I got tested, definitely had ADHD. And so I started doing more research on ADHD, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a lot deeper than I thought. This is a legit thing. So again, like this is all still very new to me, and I still learn things every day about my ADHD and about
Mm.
ADHD in general, and it's such an eye-opening thing because it explains so many of my struggles that I've had in the past. It explains everything. It all makes sense now, and I'm like, it all makes sense.
When you're talking about those struggles, perhaps this might help someone who's listening. What type of struggles do you link to your ADHD that
Mm-hmm.
were being masked as something else?
Oh gosh, I don't know if we have enough time to read through the whole list, but there's a lot of things. So first and foremost, one of the things I struggle with the most is a thing called time blindness. Right?
Okay.
No idea what that was. I just thought I was just really bad at keeping time.
Mm.
No, like when I tell you that time does not exist for me, like I mean
Wow.
that. Like we're recording this at 5 o'clock my time, right? It could be 4:55, and I'm going to say to myself, I have to record in 5 minutes. Let me just go in the kitchen real quick, and I'll come back, be ready to go in 5 minutes. If I wasn't managing my ADHD correctly or the way that I should, if I was having a bad ADHD day, I would get up, go to my kitchen, make some food, make some tea or whatever, come back, and it'll be 5:30. And I'll be like, wait, wait, what? Right? To me, time just disappeared. It wasn't a thing, right? I've always struggled with that in my life, and I was blaming myself. Come to find out, that is a common symptom of ADHD. And I had no idea. Another one is in regards to my memory, right? And it's not my long-term memory, because I have, my memory is pretty dang good. It's the little things. And I use this example in a video I made recently. I could put my keys down on this desk right here, do a 360, and by the time I make my way back, those keys will not be there. And I'll be like, where the hell are my keys? No idea where they are. And they're going to find out they're in the door still. How did, wait, what? How did that happen? That's the kind of lapses in time and moments that happen for people with ADHD. Those were the things that I had and still continue to struggle with the most. It's never just, hey, look, squirrel. Right? It's never, is that one of the symptoms? Yeah, but like, just like introversion is a spectrum, ADHD is a spectrum as well. It affects people in a variety of ways. And I have like my little tips and tricks to make sure that I stay on task, with everything for my ADHD.
Yeah, and I was going to ask about that because I read just some of your posts around things like you felt that you were weak or that you lacked motivation. How does that how did that fit into your mindset when
Yeah.
actually it had been ADHD all this time? Was that like
Yeah.
a moment where you're like, oh, like how did that work?
I thought that I was the laziest person in the world. I thought that I wasn't working hard enough. I thought that I was always being surpassed because everybody just has that mindset, that mental toughness that I don't have. And I was beating myself up, and I'm like, why don't like, I know what I want. I know how to get there, but like, why am I struggling so much with just basic motivation? Like, why is it tough for me to get up out of my chair to go do my dishes? I want to do my dishes. I'm excited to do my dishes, but to push that start button to get up and walk to the kitchen and do the dishes is a struggle. And so with the research that I've done, I look back at everything that I went through in college and when I was in middle school and high school, the things that I struggled with there, showing up late to class or forgetting homework assignments or not having motivation to study. Like, I'm thinking of all of these things and I'm like, damn, the signs were there the whole time. It had nothing to do with my mentality. It's just I wasn't managing my mental health in the right way. That's what it came down to.
So, what does that process look like for you now, Kai? Is it,
Mm-hmm.
medication? Is it a combination of your mindset hacks? Is it things like practical things like setting an alarm on your phone?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what does kind of a day in the life of Kai look like
Yeah.
when you're managing your ADHD?
Yeah, it's all of the above, man. And it's really cool because you find these like little tips and tricks that you play to on yourself to help you out in certain situations. Like, for example, I have my fidget spinner. Like, I carry this with me everywhere I go, right? Because like, not that I would ever be like, oh yeah, I'm doing a podcast, I forgot. Like, it's not like that, but like it keeps me in the moment and it keeps me grounded. You know what I'm saying? So like little things like that. A trick that I do in regards to helping with my motivation when I get home from work. Most people, when they get home from work, they'll kick their shoes off, they'll sit on the couch. I'm like, okay, let me just rest up for a little bit, get up. When I get home from work, I know that I can't do that. So I don't change out of my clothes. I purposefully make myself uncomfortable so that I'm always moving. I purposefully keep my house a little bit too cold just so I'm uncomfortable enough to like make me get up. I have an alarm that goes off every 30 minutes on my phone.
Wow.
The pure purpose is to let me know what time it is. So I know that every time that alarm has gone off, 30 minutes has gone by. It's little things like that. And I learned all those things from trial and error. I learned it from just talking with other people with ADHD that gave me their, tips and tricks. I learned from therapy, when my therapist would walk me through ideas and things like that. And I'm not saying that those things work for everybody. Oh, and I'm also on meds as well. Like I'm on Focalin as well, which helps me very much. So I was on Adderall, but I switched over to Focalin because of the shortage of Adderall. So like a lot of these things help me. Will it help everybody? No, because we're all different. But there are tools and resources out there. You just got to find them. You just got to try it. You got to try it out and see what works for you, and then stick with it.
What do you think's the biggest misconception around people with ADHD?
I think a lot of people, and this was a general misconception. I think a lot of people think that ADHD, they put they emphasize the hyper side of it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
They emphasize the hyper. So they think ADHD people, like, not only can they not keep the attention, but they're gonna be bouncing off the walls, and they're gonna be, like Tasmanian devil kind of thing, right? And that's not the case a lot of the times. I think that a lot of people think that because often young boys are diagnosed with ADHD, and
mm,
like that's often how one of the reasons why they're diagnosed. Um, but we're finding, as more research is done on women, as more research is done on girls, as more research is done on minorities, as more
mm,
research is done in the LGBTQ plus IA, community, like there's so much more to it than what people realize.
mm,
So I think that people don't understand that there's a thing which I am called a high functioning ADHD, right? Which you would never know. You would never know that I struggle with my ADHD. I mean, people know now because I put it all over the internet from millions of people. But like, if I didn't, you would have no idea, no idea. Because you had mentioned masking before. I
yeah,
mask so much, and it's
mm,
exhausting to
yeah,
mask your symptoms because you don't want to be viewed as different.
yeah,
You don't want people to see the struggle, so you mask it, and then you get home and you're exhausted. You're so tired.
yeah. So if anyone's listening to this who may have ADHD and not realize, what type of things should they look out for?
Oh gosh, there's
Mm,
so many things. What I always tell people is, because sometimes people will mistake, uh well, they'll try to diagnose themselves, right? And so what they think is ADHD might actually be anxiety, it might be
mm,
depression, it might be, you might be bipolar. Like, there could be any number of things. So what I tell people is this: if you feel something is off,
mm,
no matter what it is, go talk to a professional, and let's dive deep into your mind, and let's try to pinpoint some things. Let's talk about your motivations. Let's talk about the things that you struggle with, because it might not be ADHD.
mm.
And like all of these symptoms, the lines are blurred,
Yeah,
right? Like it's not like a physical ailment where if you have a sneeze,
yeah,
like you're you're sneezing. If you have a cough, you're coughing. Like there's there's so many different,
mm,
um there's everything blends together. So it's really tough to like just pick one thing and say that is ADHD, because it could be a combination. So for me, like, my symptoms are often accentuated because of my depression,
mm,
because of my anxiety, because of my introversion. So some things are accentuated sometimes, and so those lines are blurred as well. So go talk with a mental health professional, and figure it out, pinpoint what it is exactly for you, what that mental health journey is going to be for you.
yeah. Really, really wise words, Kai, and I can see why so many people listen to you on a day-to-day basis, and that takes us really nicely into the next question I was hoping to ask you, and that was, how does it feel being an introvert with, I think I tallied it up, over 1.2 million followers across all the platforms?
Yeah.
How does that
Yeah.
work as an introvert?
It's fascinating. Like, I really am truly, it's a very humbling experience. Um and it's not like I have to like talk to all 1.2 million of them every day. And so like I'm able to do things from the comfort of my home, and I'm able to do things when and how I want. So it's a lot of the times my content doesn't require anybody else except for me. So it's easy. Like sometimes I'll see comments on my, I'll see comments on my posts sometimes being like, "How are you an introvert if you're posting on the internet?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I mean, because I don't have to deal with you. I don't like. I don't have to. I'm not talking to you. You're watching me. You know. I just put it out. I just push play. So it's really easy for me because it's not like I have to have like ongoing conversations with people every day.
Yeah, definitely. I totally, and I think that's actually one of my frustrations, Kai, with
Mm-hmm.
not all introverts, but some who use their introversion as an excuse not to be ambitious and to push
Mm,
themselves and to do all these
mm-hmm.
great things that
Yeah.
introverts can do.
Yeah.
And like I said at the start, I'm so excited and glad that you are doing these things and leading the way for us all. And talk us through that moment then, Kai, where I think we paused your story. You just started doing the blogging.
Mm-hmm.
What point did you think, oh, this might be something here? What was that moment? Fast forward us to that point where you started to engage with social media a bit more, perhaps. What was that like?
Yeah. So this was 2018 is when it started. And so I was blogging for like 2 years because like people will always be like, "Oh, Kai, you blew up recently." Everything
Mm.
that you see online with all my platforms, it's what year is it? 2024. So what, 6 years have no, yeah, 6 years have gone by. 6 years of work is what people say. So 2018 is when it started, and I was just blogging, and not too many people were like reading it, but like I there was a couple, so I was like, okay, that's all I care about. Like I don't need millions of people. At no point did I ever wake up in the morning being like, I'm going to be a content creator. Like I never thought. I just wanted to just tell my story because it was also very therapeutic for me.
Mm.
And then COVID happened, and everybody was at home, and everybody had free time. And so people started watching my videos and reading my blogs and things like that. And I had started my podcast in 2020, and man, people had a lot of free time on their hands. And so that's when my stuff, it was March April of 2020 is when like things really started to take off for me. And it's been such an incredible 4 years since then. It's been, man, such an incredible journey, very humbling. I've met so many sweet, kind, supportive people. It's been a fun challenge. I love it.
Well, you know that you've got a Raven fan in the UK here, so you know
I
I'm
gotta
on
visit
board.
the UK. I've never been.
We'll
I've
have to
never
organise
been.
it. I think it's funny actually that as someone on social media, that you saying you didn't have ambitions of growing to what you have,
Mm-mm.
you didn't really have that much control. Like you said before, you just focused on what you could control,
Yeah,
and you didn't have control about the follower count. So I think it's really interesting how these things all link together.
yeah.
And yeah, sorry, Kai, go on.
No, no, no. Please.
No, I was just going to say you need to introduce us to your friend behind you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even know he was back there. I have two cats. For a second, I got really scared because I thought you were talking about like a human being. I
Oh,
was like, wait a
sorry. Yeah.
second. I live here by myself. What are you talking about? Yeah, that's. I have two cats. They're named Hamilton and Burr, of course, because
Lovely.
I'm that person. So that who you just saw, that was Hamilton. That
Oh,
was
that's so nice.
Hamilton. um, Oh wait, I forgot the question. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. I remember when I first got I remember when I got my first 1,000 followers, and it was on TikTok, and I'm like, what? And
Mm.
I was just in awe. I was shocked. I was like, there's 1,000 people that want to watch my stuff and read my stuff. And I was just shocked, and it just kind of kept going. Next thing you know, it's like 5,000, and then 10, and I'm like, okay, hold on, slow down. There might be something here. There might be a really cool
Mm.
opportunity. And I think it was when I hit 50,000 on TikTok that I was like, okay,
Mm.
I think I'm doing something right. I think I'm starting to resonate with people. And then it really became real for me when I hit 100,000 on Instagram. And so like I had 2 platforms where I had like a large following, and I was like, okay, I think this is cool. I think I'm enjoying this. I'm connecting with people, and I think I'm helping people, and that makes me happy. So let's push forward.
Was that overwhelming at all? Seeing suddenly, you're a big leader for so many people.
It still is.
Yeah.
It still is. It's very overwhelming. I'm about to hit 1 million on TikTok, and I'm about to hit 300,000 on Instagram. It is so weird to like, because it extends outside the internet now.
Mm.
I can like I go places and like people know who
Mm.
I am. That's weird to me because like I think my favorite type of moments are when people look at me. I guess they don't know that I can see them too. So they'll like look at me and they'll be like, I can see it on the face. Like, I know that guy from
Mm.
somewhere. Where is it? And they'll just stare, and I'll just be like, all right. and so like sometimes people will come up and be like, hey, I've been following you for a while, blah blah. And so like it's just really weird. So like that it extends outside of the
Mm.
confines of our cell phones. Like now I go out and like people will say hi, and I'm just like, this is so weird. In a good way. In
I,
a good way.
yeah, absolutely. I bet. I think it's one of those things maybe that you think, oh, I'd, I, people don't think about that side. They see the big following and
Mhm.
how great that is, but they don't see the other challenges. Although I'm sure there's loads of positive
Oh
interactions
man.
as well.
Oh yeah, it's all positive.
Yeah.
It's all loving. It's all supportive and stuff. And like I don't consider myself a celebrity in the slightest. But like the brief hints that I've gotten of public like acknowledgement has been the most surreal thing in the world. So I can only imagine what like these other content creators that have
Mm.
like 5, 10, 15 million followers. I'm just like, that's a whole country of people that know
Yeah.
who you are.
That's superb. Yeah, it's so good. And what would you say to those introverts who we've kind of touched on them before, but who want to follow in your footsteps and maybe be content creators or even not even to your scale, just to get started and break
Oh
that
yeah.
barrier? Where would they start with all of this type of stuff and starting to be a bit more active on social media?
Absolutely great question. I love answering this question for people. First and foremost, just do it. Just go. Just start posting, start blogging, start making videos. You're not gonna be a viral hit like from the jump, if ever, right? You don't need your videos to go viral to be successful, right? I have a couple videos that go viral, cool, but those are like I find more success with the ones with my core audience. I cater stuff for
Mm.
my audience. Those are the ones that I love the most. So number one, just post. You'll find your flow. You'll find what works for you, and you'll just go with that flow. Number two, be flexible, because something that may work for you now may not work for you this time next year.
Mm.
So like you got to be flexible. Number three, don't worry about the numbers. Don't worry about the numbers. Don't worry about how many followers you have. Don't worry about how many views you got. You have to enjoy making content.
Mm.
If you don't enjoy it, the follower count, the view count doesn't matter. You're going to be miserable. So don't worry about numbers or anything. Just do what makes you happy, and people will cling on to that. People will see the genuine joy that you feel in your life. Um, be consistent.
Mm.
Whatever you decide to do, be consistent with it. Because when people expect you to, like, say you post at 12 o'clock every day, people will start to anticipate
Mm.
that, which means more people will be more likely to watch it. And then the last thing is be patient. It takes time.
Mm.
The people that you see blow up on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, there's those are like one for every 5 million people.
Yeah.
Don't focus your time on becoming the next viral hit.
Yeah.
Focus on building your core base. Be patient, be persistent, and just do what makes you happy, do what brings you joy. Everything else, everything will just fall into place. That's the way I view it. I'm very fortunate to have the following that I do, but that's also not why I do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't care about the numbers. I could have 100 followers and I'd be like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. I'm doing what makes me happy. That's all that matters.
And something that I've talked to a few people about is their challenges with building a community online.
Mm.
And I suppose it's similar to introverts who don't like networking. It's similar to that, but online, I guess. How do you approach building that community?
Yeah.
Is it sliding into DMs? Is it liking other people's stuff? How
Yeah.
do you build that feeling of that online community like you
Yeah.
definitely have?
Yeah, I think that networking is tough for introverts when we have to initiate, right? And like talk about BS. Like when we're having like a pointless conversation about the
Oh,
weather, like that's where introverts are going to be like, oh my god, right?
yeah,
But introverts genuinely love good conversations that
yeah,
have a point, that are deep and thrilling. That's thrilling to them. So um people I like I will try to go through as many DMs and comments as I can. Like when people like comment on things and DM me, I just try to talk to them like a normal human being would, you know, and you end up growing these natural connections with people, and you end up just forming a group of people just naturally that support you. And so for me, I call them my vibers, you know,
yeah,
and like they're just an incredibly supportive, kind group of people that are on their own mental health journeys. And that's all I need. Like I man, I don't know where I'd be without them. Honestly, I don't.
that is so great, Kai. It's so great, and I'm happy so happy for you, and I'm so happy for introverts everywhere who are
Oh
following
yeah,
you and are hearing your message. And Kai, I want to be respectful of your time, and
you're fine.
um, no, I know you're very generous, but I do want to be. Maybe this could be a part one of part two. Who knows?
Sounds good to
Um,
me.
yeah. Kind of one of the last things I wanted to ask you was: there's somebody listening to this episode somewhere who is stuck in that place, whether it's professionally or with their mental health, and they want to go and achieve great things. What would you say to them as kind of a bit of a parting message from this episode?
Your feelings are valid.
Mm.
Your feelings are valid. So now, what are you going to do about it? You have the world in your hands, and you could do anything that you want to be better today than you were the day before. Do what you can when you can. Make the best of every situation.
Mm.
Don't take it for granted. And when you have an opportunity to grow, when you have an opportunity to learn, and when you have an opportunity to take action, do it. And you may not know what the end goal might be, but you're taking it one step at a time. And when you focus on just taking things one step at a time, you'll end up eventually realizing that you're heading in the direction that you've always wanted to go in. Trust yourself. You know what you want. You may not be able to communicate it with yourself yet, but you know what you want. So just one foot in front of the other. Trust yourself. Take action. You got this.
That that gave me chills, Guy. It's 11 o'clock at night in the UK. I feel like I'm ready to go hit the gym after that. That is so good,
Drop and give
so
me
good.
20. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. So good. And last question,
Yeah.
Kai. What's next for you? What's the rest of 2024 looking like? Yeah. What's coming?
So much. I have such big ambitions with my life. And the easy answer here is like what I always tell people is just to be better today than I was the day before, which is like my general thing that I always go with and keep in my brain. But the next thing for me is whatever I can do. I really enjoy making content. I want to be able to continue to improve the quality of my content. I want to be able to reach as many people as I can. I want to be able to form new friendships and relationships, and I want to be able to take my life to the next level. I want to help my family. I do a lot of this for my mom, my sister, my dad, because I know that I have an opportunity here to look them in the face one day and be like, hey, you don't have to worry about anything anymore. I got you. And like, I have that opportunity. So whatever that takes in 2024, that's what I'm going to focus on.
That is so amazing. Some big goals, some
Yeah,
really
man.
exciting goals. And where is the best place for everyone to come and find you? What are your
Yeah.
handles? And I will share them all in the show notes,
Yeah.
but what's the best place to find you?
Yeah, good question. I'm at the Vibe with Kai on all platforms, mainly Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, LinkedIn, all those. So just put in the Vibe with Kai, you'll find me. You can also visit my website, thevibewithkai.com. That's where you'll find my podcast, my blog, my book. I wrote a ADHD guidebook for adults, which is available now, and you can go out and purchase that. Digital download, and yeah, like it's all there.
Amazing. Well, Kai, I can't thank you enough for your time tonight. It's been emotional, it's been inspiring, it's been deep, it's been everything I knew it would be. So yeah, I'm so thankful.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for doing what you do, because what you do is just as important, if not more important, than what I do. We play a very vital role, you and I, in helping people, and I'm so happy that you have embraced this with joy and happiness, and you are helping more people than you realize every single day. So thank
Thank
you
you, man.
for everything that you're doing.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And that brings us to the end of another episode of the Unstoppable Introvert Project. Again, thank you so much to Kai Westcott for all of his time. It's been amazing. And thank you so much for listening. Remember, your introversion isn't your limitation, it's the catalyst for your success. So until next time, stay unstoppable.